Out of the collapse of the old kingdom, there emerged the figure of a king again. This was Mentuhotep, the first to reunify all of Egypt. Mentuhotep referred to himself as uniter of the two lands, and the first part of his reign saw fighting and military campaigns aimed at crushing any cities that dared revolt against his rule.
Mentuhotep I is really one of these very dynamic rulers of Egypt, really one of the greatest pharaohs, because he comes at a time when Egypt was divided internally, politically fragmented. And during his reign, he succeeded in reunifying Egypt and laying the groundwork for this period during which Egypt again becomes highly organized and centralized, and the kingship becomes very powerful.
The pharaoh Mentuhotep ruled from Thebes, which was now the capital city, and a site that would one day be known for its temples of Karnak and Luxor. Even in Mentuhotep's time, this was a large and powerful city. The ancients referred to it as the City of 1,000 Gates. As a building project, it reflected the stability and prosperity that Egypt once again enjoyed under the pharaoh Mentuhotep. But Mentuhotep was not seen as a god-king like his predecessors had been during the time of the pyramids. To reflect this, he would erect a new style of mortuary temple for himself before an impressive backdrop of cliffs here in ancient Thebes, at a site named Dar el-Bahari. The complex was dug into the rock, a blend of traditional mastaba and pyramid of a god. This style of tomb building oddly confirms the power of Mentuhotep's rule. He was a half-divine and half-mortal leader. Underneath the temple, a larger-than-life-size stone statue of the pharaoh Mentuhotep was found. He is seated and depicted in his Hebsed robe, the robe he would have worn at the festival of his renewal. Nearby was uncovered an inscription of his queen named Kawit. Here she is depicted eternally having her hair arranged by a servant. Another artifact from the tomb depicts the princess Ashed relaxing as she enjoys the fragrance of a lotus blossom. Such scenes underline this period of peace and stability, a period that would continue under a pharaoh who would change the way Egypt viewed its rulers forever. By the year 1878 BC, this brooding, careworn figure would ascend to the throne of ancient Egypt. He was Sesostris III.
Sesostris III is really well known because of the large number of portrait statues which we have from him. They're very vivid and tend to present an image of the king as possibly taking the role of kingship very seriously, interested in presenting his image as a wise and careful ruler who is really concerned with maintaining the strength of the kingship.
His name meant man of power, but he was unlike earlier pharaohs whose portraits portrayed them as gods. The statues we have of the pharaoh Sesostris III depict a natural and realistic face.
Sesostris III is very much remembered as a pharaoh who had a strong interest in the military, and particularly his activities in Nubia testify to his interest in extending the power of Egypt and maintaining its borders.
During his reign, Sesostris III extended and expanded a system of mud brick fortresses which the Egyptians had established in Lower Nubia, now northern Sudan. From here, he could acquire building materials and extend the influence of Egypt into this frontier.
The area of Upper Nubia during that time was the center of a very powerful culture which we know as the Kerma culture. Sesostris III really was interested in maintaining Egypt's border against those the permaculture.
Much of the wealth he secured during his Nubian campaigns was marked for use in building temples in Egypt. Here in the capital city of Thebes, he erected an elaborate temple which has since been destroyed, that was dedicated to the god Mantu, the ancient Egyptian lord of warfare. But such confidence in the gods and in the power of war were impermanent. Within 200 years, the proud people of Egypt would be quietly invaded. Egypt would again become a land of turmoil. There are no monuments to celebrate their rule. No image of their faces has ever been found. Yet ancient writings attest to the fact that in 1663 BC, Egypt came under the control of foreign kings of Semitic origin. These pharaohs were called the Hyksos.
We don't know the exact process by which the Hyksos took over the country. It appears at the moment that possibly it was partly by infiltrating into the delta and increasing their numbers. There may also have been an actual invasion component, although this is still somewhat debated.
If it was invasion, the Hyksos swept across the land, bringing with them superior weaponry like the compound bow. They would also introduce the horse and the chariot to Egypt. The ancients called these horse-drawn vehicles the ships that sailed upon the desert. There is evidence that the Hyksos used these to plunder the cultural and political center of Egypt, Memphis. The result was the 16th dynasty, a dynasty of foreign rule for Egypt that lasted 108 years.
They didn't like this. It caused a profound impact on the Egyptian psyche. And when the Egyptians roared back with control of their country, they seem to have driven the Hyksos out with what I can best characterize as a never again attitude. They did not like being controlled by foreigners, and they did not want it to happen again.
With the foreign kings expelled, the Egyptians looked within their borders and witnessed the start of a new kingdom. It would begin here in the ancient city of Thebes.